All right. Hey there, folks. I'm in the Life with Old Dogs podcast studio, but this is not for the Life with Old Dogs podcast, although I should probably incorporate it somehow now that I think about it. This is for the Woody's Place Senior German Shepherd Sanctuary Degenerative Myelopathy group. On February 4th, I put a survey, a poll, up in that group, and I should have worded it a little bit better, but I put, when do you think it is time to say goodbye to your dog with degenerative myelopathy? There's no wrong answer, and there's no judgment. There's never any judgment. If you have any other marker you would like to add, please add it in the comments section, and I put this as for research purposes only, which it is. But I wanted to share the results of that poll survey. It says poll on Facebook, but we'll just call it a survey. And then I just wanted to touch base on some things and share some ideas, thoughts. All right, so the choices we had were when they can't use their legs anymore, when they become incontinent, when they don't want to eat anymore, when they have trouble breathing, when it becomes too much for you to care for them. And then someone in the group added, it could be a combination of any of the above. Basically, they tell you, each one has a point they will tell you, just listen. And yes, I get that. I understand that it's never just one thing that happens in degenerative myelopathy. It's multifaceted, and there are symptoms and things of that nature going on simultaneously in a dog with degenerative myelopathy. For instance, their back legs aren't working, and they're pooping right where they lay. So I get it. I meant like what was the biggest factor for you to say, that's it. We really can't move forward anymore. When you notice something more prominent than the other, like for instance, Chop, and I'm looking at him, he's right here next to me. He's our DM dog here at the sanctuary currently. And Chop he hasn't been able to use his back legs since he got here last August 2024, which, I could deal with. That's not a big deal for me. I have totally equipped to take care of a dog who can't get around, who has mobility issues. However, he is now totally fecal incontinent. He has been defecating right where he lays since probably November of last year, 2024. But now he's becoming urinary incontinent. So, now I'm starting to wonder, how much longer do I have? How much longer do we have now? Because now it's kind of looking like, I may have to make a decision sooner than I thought. Because clearly the disease is progressing, the paralysis is progressing. So for me, he can't walk. He was fecal incontinent. Now he's urinary incontinent. And his bark is weak. He has a lot of trouble getting in and out of his wheelchair now. But the biggest factor for me is the incontinence, because it is a lot of cleaning. It is a lot of caretaking. He doesn't like it. So that's what I meant. Like, what is the most prominent thing that would make you say, now it's time? So let me break down the results here. The person, Jay McCoy, who added, it could be a combination of any of the above. Basically, they tell you, each one has its point they will tell you. That got 36%. And again, I get that because it is a multifaceted disease. There's a lot going on at once. That got 36%. 36% of you said when they don't want to eat anymore. Yes, I agree with that too. Let me come back to that. All right. 21% said when they have trouble breathing. I have thoughts about that as well. 5% said when they can't use their legs anymore. 1% said when they become incontinent, and 1% said when it becomes too much for you to care for them. All right. Again, 36% combination of yes, I agree. When it is just so overwhelming, so overbearing, they're pooping and peeing right where they lay. They really don't want to eat anymore. They can't use their back legs. Maybe they're getting to the point where they can't use their front legs too. They just don't really seem to have a whole lot of joy in life anymore. Yes, that's a big encompassing picture, and I get that. I was just kind of like hoping to zoom in a little bit more. 36% when they don't want to eat anymore. Yeah, that's a big indicator. However, it has been my experience, and I'm up to about 7 DM dogs now in my history book, from personal experience with Woody, who had DM, my own personal German Shepherd, who passed away in 2007, she had DM, and through Woody's place. They typically keep eating right to the end, like right up till euthanasia. They typically keep eating unless they've gotten to the point where they are having trouble breathing. But they typically still have that appetite and still want to eat. And, something we've done here at the sanctuary, and I've personally done with my own personal dogs, is if they still have an appetite and the day, it's coming, maybe we're like within like that, excuse me, 36 to 24 hour window, I just start giving them whatever they want. If they want a sleeve of Oreos, they can have a sleeve of Oreos. If they want bacon, they can have bacon. I shouldn't say 36 hours. It's usually within like 12 to 24 hours, because they could have like obviously GI upset, and then there's a lot to clean up. But when euthanasia, that appointment is in sight, I just give them really whatever they want. They can go to heaven with a full belly, full of stuff, whatever they want. And seriously, I don't give them a whole sleeve of Oreos. That was an exaggeration, but I will give them several Oreos if that's what they want. I think you get the idea. So yeah, don't eat anymore. That is a good marker, but in my experience, unless they've reached the point where they can't breathe, they still want to eat. They still have that appetite. That is something that has not diminished. Let's see. The 21%, when they have trouble breathing. That's a good one. That's a great one. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you've gotten to the point where they can't breathe, I'm gonna say this, tough love here, you've waited too long. That's exactly what I did with Woody. That's exactly how I learned the hard way, and he suffered because I waited too long. So let me just back up here. He came into my life in 2007. He was 10 years old. I knew something was up with his back end, but back then in 2007, the internet wasn't what it is now. And there really wasn't a whole lot of information available. I didn't even know the term degenerative myelopathy. The vet didn't seem to know, kept saying something neurological, but didn't actually have a word for it. Then I was in German Shepherd rescue groups, and someone said, check out this doctor down in Florida. And I'm drawing a complete blank right now. I think his last name was Cummings. And he had a lot of information about degenerative myelopathy. And the more I kept reading, I'm like, oh my gosh, this sounds exactly like what Woody has. But, there was still like not enough information. So I didn't realize that there were like 4 stages to degenerative myelopathy. I didn't realize that each stage had its own, fluid timeline. One stage could last a day, another could last 2 years. I didn't know. I didn't know any of that. So by the time he passed away it was yesterday, February 11th in 2011. So that was his anniversary yesterday at the time of this recording. I had waited too long. He hadn't been able to use his back legs for quite some time. He was defecating himself. He was urinating himself. I was hell-bent on trying to keep him as clean as possible and, hoping on a wing and a prayer that maybe somehow we could keep going on a little bit longer and things would be at least manageable and okay. Number one, I am an extremely tenacious person to a point where I'm very, very hard-headed. I am not a quitter by any sense of the word. If it is hard, something's hard, almost impossible, sign me up. I am all about challenges. I am relentless. I am like, I mean, I work with German Shepherds, but I am like a pit bull in that department. I am relentless. So that was my mentality, and I was going to do everything I could for him without knowing there wasn't anything else I could do for him but give him peace. So we had been going to a veterinarian that I haven't used since 2011, and I had been with them for a while. I threw a lot of money their way with animals. I sent a lot of people their way, a lot of customers their way. And Woody passed away on a Monday. So on Friday, I knew then, like, he's bad. He's really bad. Like, he was just having trouble, like, breathing. And he just, really didn't seem like he was doing well. And I said, I'm sorry. No, it was a Monday that I called them. And I said, I have to bring him in. I have to bring him in. It's time to say goodbye. He's not doing well. And they said they were booked and they couldn't see me. And I said, excuse me? I said, this is an emergency. Can't I just come to your parking lot and you can euthanize him in the back seat of my truck? And they said, no, you'll have to make an appointment for the next day. And I had a bunch of choice words for them and hung up. The week prior to that, I had gone up to Carbondale Veterinary Hospital. I'm totally going off the rails here. At the recommendation of someone else in a German Shepherd rescue group that I had belonged to at that time. And I heard of this veterinary practice, and at the time it was one man. And he, in case you don't know, there's farm vets and there's companion vets, and then there's a combination of the two. Okay, companion animals, dogs and cats. And this guy was a combination of the two, but really he was a farm vet. So his bedside manner wasn't so great. He was, this big old rugged mountain man, man of few words, just really rough, and didn't have a great reputation in terms of, caring for companion animals in his practice. So I was very skeptical, but I did want to get a second opinion. So I get Woody into my truck, and I take him up and over the mountain here in northeastern PA. It's, I had to go up and over the mountain range, Music Mountain Range, to this Carbondale Veterinary Hospital. And I get there, and I noticed there's like hardly any people there. And I'm thinking, like, I guess it's a slow day. But I mean, he really kind of had a rough reputation back then. And he gets Woody up on the table, and he's looking him over, and he's not really saying anything. And I'm just going on and on and on. I can't shut my mouth. I'm talking about all these things that are going on with him. And, and I can see that he's having labored breathing at this point. And Dr. Henry just turned around, and that was his name. He just turned around and he said to me, what do you want me to do? He's an old dog and he's dying. And I was just so taken back. I really had like a choice word for him, and got Woody and just got out of there. And I apologized to Woody. I'm like, we are never going back to him. He's horrible, blah, 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 and this, that, and the next thing. So here comes that day, Monday, and my vet won't see me because they're booked. FYI, when the office manager found out that it was me who called, they apologized profusely, wanted to give me a pretty nice deal to come back, and I just flat out told them no, I wouldn't be back. So anyway, I'm stuck at this point, and I get Woody. I call Carbondale, and it's at lunchtime, and where I live, people take lunch breaks. Like, even our post office closes for lunch, so you can't go in between a certain amount of time because nobody's there. They're taking lunch, and that's how it is in rural USA, and I'm good with that. But anyway, Dr. Henry answered the phone, and I said what was going on. He was really struggling to breathe. He really wasn't doing well. He was really lethargic. So now here I am with this dog who's literally dying. He really was. And I have him on his blanket from his bed, and I'm dragging him down a hallway, sliding him really. I had to take him across our deck, down 2 steps, across the driveway, and then I had to lift him up into my truck, and he was probably like 75 pounds, and I was maybe a buck 20 at the time. It was hard. It was so hard, but I managed. I got him in the back seat. Up and over the mountain range I went, go in, and everybody's on lunch, and Dr. Henry came out to my truck, and he euthanized Woody. And I'll tell you, his passing was so significant to me for two reasons. One, because he had passed away, and I had such a special bond with Woody. But two, because I was so filled with regret that I had waited too long and that he was suffering. If I would have just let him go out on a little bit of a higher note instead of getting to the point where he couldn't breathe, it would have been a better death for him. It would have been a better transition, a better passing, and I could not get it through my head that's what was going to happen. I was like, nope, that's not going to happen. We'll be okay for a little while longer, and we weren't. So please, I'm sorry I went off on that tangent, but I just have to share that because you don't hear people talking about this, and people need to know. People with degenerative myelopathy dogs need to know. So for the 21% of you who said when they have trouble breathing, I'm not judging you at all. I am educating you. Please heed my advice. Don't wait till they get to the point where they can't breathe. Please make an appointment sooner than that. Really, it's better a day too soon than a day too late. And I've learned that lesson. I've learned that lesson the hard way. I also learned that lesson with another resident who had hemangiosarcoma, and I waited a little too long, and that was not a good death either. And it's a horrible experience and situation when you have to say goodbye to your beloved fur friend. But trust me when I say you can at least make it a little better for both of you by trying to say goodbye a little bit sooner than hanging on too long, and then it's just ugly. Okay. 5% said when they can't use their legs anymore. And yeah, hey, listen, again, I'm definitely getting there with Chop. So obviously they can't use their back legs, and that comes on, it can come on it comes on gradually. For those who have dogs who they say their dog has DM, and I'm talking with them, I'm like, well, tell me about it. And they're like, oh, one day he was okay, and I don't know what happened, but the next day he couldn't use his legs anymore, and they were just calling it DM. It's like, no, that's not DM. That's not what happens. DM is a gradual paralysis. It's not instantaneous. Typically, it sounds to me like, it might be IVDD, invertebral disc disease, when a dog has an injury to their spine. It can look like DM, knuckling, not able to use their back leg, incontinence, all that stuff. But when it happens instantaneously, it is not DM. And I think most of you are aware of that. So they can't use their legs anymore. So here's my take on that. And again, please know my situation is very, very different. I am totally equipped to care for a DM dog here, with harnesses and wheelchairs and the layout of the sanctuary and the property and all that stuff. So I personally can deal with a dog who can't use their back legs. It's if they're still strong in the front. If their legs are still strong in the front, they're still going, they can pull themselves around readily in a wheelchair, I'm totally okay with that. It's when the paralysis starts to spread back up the body. So in case you don't know, and again, down another little rabbit hole here, in case you don't know about degenerative myelopathy, they are saying it is an autoimmune disease, and it's neurological. And basically, the dogs have nerves, and the brain tells the body what to do through nerves. And the nerves are encased in a myelin sheath. It's like an insulator. And degenerative myelopathy eats away at that myelin sheath. So when the brain tells the dog to move its back end, that message slips out of the nerve. The message does not get to the back end. And that's how it happens. So, and it affects the back end first, and then the paralysis starts to spread back up the body. So when they get to the point where their front end is weak and they can't pull themselves in the wheelchair, and then the paralysis spreads, and then they can't use their front legs, and then the paralysis spreads even more, and their voice box gets affected, and they can't bark, and then they can't breathe, and then they die. When they can't pull themselves around in a wheelchair, in a canine wheelchair, they can't really use their front end. Now their front end is weak. That's personally, for me, a good indicator that it's time, because I'm not waiting for them to then, not be able to breathe. So that to me is a good one. When they can't use their front legs anymore, they can't pull themselves around, they're too weak, that to me is a good time. So that 5% of you, that's a good one. That's a good one right there. And for some, it may be when they can't use their back end, because listen, everybody's situation is different. Everybody, there's some people who, they can't manage. The dog is too heavy for them. Maybe their beloved caretaker has back issues or hip problems or horrible arthritis themselves, and they don't have family or friends to help out. Please know that if you're at that point and your dog can still kind of use their back legs but can't support themselves, and you have to hold them up with a harness, but you can't do it, please don't beat yourself up over that and feel like you have to hurt yourself or be a detriment to yourself because you have to help your dog. Because as much as you love your dog, and I know you do, it's not going to get any better. It's just not. So if you have to say goodbye then it's okay. It's okay, because it's just not going to get any better. It is terminal. It is a terminal disease, degenerative myelopathy. So please, I hear that a lot. I've seen it. People, contacting me, and they're hysterical, and they want to be able to do what they see me do, and it's like, well, you're not me. You're not me. And listen, I can't do some things that other people do, but I know your limitations, and please don't beat yourself up over it, because you're doing the best you can. And like I said, unfortunately, your dog is just not going to get better. 1% said when they become incontinent, and yeah, that is a tough one. That's a tough one, and like I said, I'm definitely there with Chop with that. So Chop is now he's fecal incontinent. He's on his way to becoming fully urinary incontinent. He cannot use his back legs at all. He hasn't been able to use them since he came here in August 2024. His front end is definitely getting weaker. He can still use his front legs. He can still pull himself in a wheelchair, but he doesn't want to walk around with us, really. He'll just kind of wheel himself over to where the goats are and stand at the gate and bark at them. And occasionally he may walk to 1 foot bridge and just kind of stand there. His bark is weak. He still has a vivacious appetite, and he still is okay breathing. But the end is getting closer. It definitely is. So yeah, that's a lot of cleaning. And again, he'll poop. He'll poop at least once during the night, sometimes twice during the night. And then when I get him up the next morning and I go to lift him up, his belly band from his harness is pushing against his bladder, and he just pees all over the place. So it's a lot of cleaning. And if you're not capable of keeping up with that kind of care, then maybe it is time to say goodbye, because again, it's not going to improve. In fact, it's, you're getting close to the 4th and final stage at that point. When it becomes too much for you to care for them, only 1% said that. And where I applaud you all for saying, yeah, I'm there for my dog. We're in this. We're on this journey together, and I'm going to do everything I possibly can, regardless of myself. I applaud you for that, but please, you can literally hurt yourself trying to care for a large dog with degenerative myelopathy. You can. And then where's that going to leave you? I have hurt my back over caring for dogs with degenerative myelopathy, and I have a shitty back as it is. Excuse my language, but I do. I have spinal stenosis in my lower back. I have disc problems in my upper back. I'm in love with my TENS unit people don't know that, but trust me, it's hard. It's really hard. I have tripped over dogs with degenerative myelopathy because, their legs are like wet noodles in the back, and I'm trying to hold their harness and try to keep them between my legs while I'm trying to get them in their wheelchair, but their front end's doing whatever their front end does, and I've literally tripped over dogs with degenerative myelopathy trying to help them and assist them. I nearly killed myself getting Woody into my truck. I mean, I have a Dodge Ram. I still have it. I still have the same truck. I've had the same truck since 2004. It's a Dodge Ram 1500, and it sits up pretty high. And I nearly killed myself getting him into the truck to say goodbye. You gotta care for yourself. You're a caregiver. If you're caring for a dog with degenerative myelopathy, you are a caregiver. And you have to care for yourself, because if you're not caring for yourself, you're not going to be able to help your dog with degenerative myelopathy. So if you've reached the point that it's too much for you, it's okay to say goodbye. Because again, it's a terminal disease. It's not going to get any better. And it's better a day too soon than a day too late, right? I had a conversation with someone not too long ago, and they were talking about a different situation for a dog. And I said to them, and they said it really helped them. Everybody has a plate of life, okay? And whatever you have to handle, whatever you have to do, whatever you want to do goes on that plate, all right? And some people handle that plate beautifully. They can handle all the stress. They can, handle all the changes. They can, whatever. They can handle it. But they have a big plate. They have a really big plate. They have a platter, as a matter of fact. And things are just easier for them. But then some people are coming at life with a little, tiny little plate, like a little saucer that you would feed cat food to a cat on. And they still have everything else that the same person that the platter has. And they're trying to, handle all this stuff on this tiny little platter. And everything's just overflowing and falling all over the place. All right. So that's just a visual I'm trying to leave you with. Not everyone is coming at this situation from the same place. And it's okay for you to only handle what you can handle. All right, with a degenerative myelopathy dog, whether you say, hey, listen, when I see they're pooping on their bed and they're not even knowing it, that's when it's time for me. When I see, they can't use their legs anymore, they can't get up and walk themselves out to go to the bathroom anymore, that's when it's time for me. When they're having trouble breathing, please, that's the only thing I'm going to say. Please don't get to that point. Please, 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 please just don't get to that point. Please say goodbye sooner. All right. So, sorry about that. I just moved the camera. If anybody has any questions or any concerns or whatever, put them in the comments section below, or you can message me privately. You can message me through the group. You can message me through Woody's Place Senior German Shepherd Sanctuary on Facebook. We're WPSGSS on Instagram, on TikTok, and YouTube. We're Life with Old Dogs. You can even message me privately on Facebook, Dawn Mimnaugh, MIMNAUGH. Anybody can follow me there. My email address is dmimnaugh, MIMNAUGH, @WPSGSS.org. And you can message me, and I will try to get back to you as soon as possible. No, it does take me some time because, in addition to running Woody's Place, I do run Life with Old Dogs Media. It's a podcast, a blog, and a newsletter, and it's about all things old dogs and how to care for them, how to best care for them. I also run the Shepherd Shop. It's a printing business. So I can print mouse pads, tumblers, dog licenses, and it's typically all things German Shepherd related. And that's not enough, including, having my homestead here with my farm animals and all that. I am finishing up my second college degree. It is a personal goal for me. I've been a student at Penn State now part-time for about 5 years. And I am doing an internship at Camp Freedom in Carbondale, Pennsylvania, which is they provide outdoor experiential therapy to disabled veterans, first responders, and Gold Star families. And I will be done that in May, and I will have my second college degree, and then I think I'm done for a while. So I have a lot going on my plate right now, but I always make time for people who have questions and concerns about their older German Shepherd, particularly those with degenerative myelopathy. I'm not a veterinarian. I am a certified canine nutritionist, but I'm not a veterinarian. And that was another personal goal, which I achieved. But I do have a lot of knowledge just through, I've been in the rescue world for 25 years, German Shepherds exclusively since 2004. Senior German Shepherds exclusively since 2007. 2009 is when Woody's Place unofficially opened its doors. And then Woody's Place became a nonprofit organization, which I founded in 2011. So I've had a lot of experience with dogs with degenerative myelopathy. All right, so I'm going to leave you with that. Thank you to everyone who participated in that survey. There was 120 people who took part in that survey. So thank you for doing that, and I hope this helps you.